pinch hitter, Elliott Auerbach, the deputy comptroller for the state of New York, formerly of Ulster County fame. Wow. Ulster County comptroller, and also what was the hardware store's name in Ellen?
Ace
Hardware. I love Ace Hardwares.
Yes.
I love.
Well, it was a family-found business
Yeah.
post World War II. The typical, greatest generation story that we've heard over and over again about people coming back from the war and then deciding that they were going to change the world.
All right. Well, that's you're a grassroots guy, and so now you're spreading grass all over. Well, not grass.
Wait a second. Jid Tinty could be downstairs.
Take two. You're spreading goodwill.
Sheriff Figueroa, he didn't mean it.
And some financial common sense all over New York State. So that didn't come out right.
No, it didn't.
So thank you for pinch hitting today.
Thank you.
We
Look,
appreciate it.
these are tough shoes to fill.
Scott, yeah. He's size 12, but he has hair in his back and you don't. So,
but we do have the same barber.
You have the same barber.
He's a force, though, that Scott.
Yes.
So hopefully he's off.
Larger than life. Yeah, he's down in Florida, down in his,
on his boat
second, soon to be first home one of these years.
Okay, well, good.
I know he's they got some stuff to do down there. I'm not sure Yvonne is with him, but he's off for a few weeks. So thank you for filling in. I just want to mention. We have some good guests today. We have Bill Calderara coming in from Ulster Savings Bank at 8.
Great guy, great skier too.
Yes, and the new executive, relatively new executive from the Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts of America, BSA, baby.
BSA, and then we have Lisa Berger coming on, Economic Development Director.
She is a lightning rod.
8:30.
I'm excited to see Lisa.
So. So good. I just have to also say, you talked about the greatest generation. This past Sunday, I got an opportunity to interview my 96-year-old uncle, John Tully. His name is spelled Tulli, which most people think is Tully, and they do say Tully, but that's kind of the Irish version. The Italian version is Tully. He was in the second wave of Normandy. He and his brother, my uncle Danny, and miraculously survived that. I forget how many combat days they both had. But
Amazing.
Amazing story. And he's still golfs. Wow. He still plays the keyboard 2 hours a day. He drives very little now. My couple cousins, he lives in Staten Island. But that was an amazing interview on another station, and so it was the Italian show.
Did you record it?
No, it's archived.
Those those are memories and those are experiences. Yeah. I know there was a huge push probably 10 or 15 years ago through a grant to have video recordings of these World War II veterans to tell their story and talk about that because the numbers are dramatically dwindled. I could vividly remember being at Memorial Day celebrations and looking down and seeing dozens and dozens and dozens of VFW, American Legion, JWV members.
Right. Yeah.
And today,
not so much.
You can count them on one hand.
I know.
It's unfortunate.
It's sad. I might try to get him on this show. Actually, I just got to get one of my cousins to. Actually, he can do this himself. I think because that is that one's a Zoom. So my cousin Rita set him up on the Zoom.
Nice.
But he can phone in with no problem. Maybe we'll do that around Veterans Day.
It'd
be a good idea.
I mean, I had often heard my father recall his life during that time. He was a master sergeant, so my shoes were always shined.
Right.
And
Preston pleaded.
And then when I went out into the world, I worked for a sergeant major, retired sergeant major, cut from the same cloth.
Those guys are no joke.
No joke.
No joke.
No joke. Let me tell you, there was an esprit de corps. It's fascinating to listen and sit there and hear what life was like.
Yeah.
I mean, how the country...
We have no concept.
How the country came together.
Yeah.
How, there were no political bickering, and at least we
not at least in front of us.
No backbiting.
Yeah.
This was we were one country.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I'm sure any of the political maneuvers were all behind the scenes, and
sure.
But still, yeah. I mean, we're all consumed by this pandemic, but we forget the sacrifice that so many people made. I think and just I would like to submit that a lot of us today don't know what it is to sacrifice. True. We really don't, because God made credit cards, and I mean, I think the economy is getting kind of I'll use a big 25-cent word, bifurcated, right? It's
a good word. I like it.
It's there's a whole bunch of folks that have decent amount of money, and there's a whole bunch of folks that don't have much at all.
Struggling,
right? The evaporating middle class, so to speak, but. That said, we have to pay tribute and homage to the folks that sacrificed, like my Uncle John. So his brother, he had three brothers actually. One was in the Marines and learned how to drive a bulldozer in the Marines for the Seabees, and then got a job at the Staten Island dump driving a bulldozer. My Uncle Danny was a sergeant in the Army as well, with my Uncle John. My Uncle John, he enlisted because my Uncle Danny got drafted, and he was like about 3 months away from being legal, and he lied about his age. And
you hear that story.
Yeah, lied about his age, and they let him go.
Yeah, of course. You hear stories about folks who have tried to get in and lied about their ages.
Yeah. So he turned out he was a policeman in Staten Island.
Wow.
And my Uncle Eddie, who didn't serve, had a deferment. He was a firefighter in which is why he got a deferment. Firefighter in Staten Island.
I'm finding the Staten Island theme here. I'm feeling like a little Victory Boulevard, driving down the
right. So a lot of Staten Island, but yeah, it was really it was fun doing that, but a lot of tradition, and then they were all musicians. Who would pull out the guitar, who would pull out the mandolin, and
very cool.
So the parties turned into big just singing and eating and
little drinking,
and probably a cigar here or there.
There's a fascinating initiative on public radio called StoryCorps, where they interview. They have family members interview other family members,
right?
And it becomes archived, and that's really what we continually need to do, is to sit with our parents and our grandparents, if they're around, and in some cases great-grandparents, and just sit there and have a conversation about...
Hopefully record it.
Yeah, what life was like for them, and the struggles that they went through.
Yeah. When he was born in 1924, so I think I had an off-the-air conversation with him. I talked to him about once a week, actually. This is my mother. So my mother was the only girl in the family, and four brothers.
Wow!
And so
she was well protected.
She was absolutely. He told a story actually when my dad dated her. My grandparents, who were immigrants, came over from Italy in 1905 or 6 in that neck of the woods. Basically sent the two brothers as chaperones.
And which leg did they break?
Right. So my Uncle John told a story that my dad was a pretty smart guy, and gave the two brothers $10 each and said, "Get lost." And they said, $10? Yeah, this is great. $10 back in those days was a lot of money.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. And then they reunited, So what I was saying is, he lived through the Great Depression, right, 1929, World War II. I mean,
imagine what he's seen in his life. The changes. I'll never forget. I was explaining to my dad at one time, he should rest in peace, about an ATM card and how it worked.
Right.
And he says to me, "You mean I could take this piece of plastic, stick it in the brick wall there, and get 5 20s out of it?" And
God bless America.
Right.
This is great.
And those, and those kind of things, and what they lived through and how they did survive.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be lessons learned for us in there, right?
Oh, absolutely. I
mean, I think we just have gotten so used to on-demand stuff. It doesn't matter what it is, pretty much. And again, there's folks out there that are struggling
Well, we're going to be we're forced right now to use our ingenuity and our survival skills, so to speak, to really live through the crisis that we're living through. We're all very lucky. Many of us don't realize the good fortune that we do have when you go home and there's food in the fridge and there's heat on and there's the lights on and the struggles that people are having. It's it's hard to imagine, Tony, that in today's world, when we were rumbling along into the future, that we have come to this screaching halt.
Oh yeah,
we've been brought to our knees.
It's scary.
Humbling, very humbling.
Yeah.
I'm amazed though at what I'm seeing out there, and like I said, the ingenuity, what folks are doing, how they're making ends meet, so to speak. Kudos to all those businesses that are keeping their doors open and keeping people employed.
With ingenuity.
With ingenuity. I've seen restaurants shift to grocery-type businesses.
Yes, absolutely.
To survive.
Well, can I just mention, you mentioned restaurant, and it jogged my memory. The Highland Rotary Club, right? Most people know by now I'm the district governor for 55 clubs in 8 counties. It's a volunteer job, right? I get a grand total of 0.
It actually costs you money.
Oh, yeah, it costs money.
Yes.
So our Highland Rotary Club, of which I've been a member of since 1985, we just did an amazing program called the Rib Fest, which you know about the Rib Fest. Yeah. So that didn't happen this year. We've done it for 15 years down at the Ulster County Fairgrounds. This year we came up with a program called Rotary Rib Fest Restaurant Revival. Restaurant Revival is the key. So we were able to secure about $30,000 of sponsors from some very generous businesses and individuals to support the restaurants in this area, in the greater area, not just Ulster County. It's in Dutchess County, some Newburgh, southern Ulster, and the deal was this: as a sponsor, if you gave, say, $1,000, 500 of it went to Rotary, 500 of it went to the restaurants. So out of that 30,000, 15,000 of it went to the restaurants. Then here's how we did it: we told the restaurants, you have to sell a $50 gift card for $30.
Okay.
Right? It's a discounted card that the patron buys.
Yeah.
Patron's putting in 30. The sponsor who said, well, I'm going to pick, Frank Guido's restaurant, I'm going to pick Savona's. Sponsor get to designate what restaurants they wanted to support.
Very cool.
And $20 out of that $50 gift card came from the sponsor.
Wow.
So now here's what the restaurants are getting. We sold 700 gift cards.
Wow.
700 gift cards at $50. Online through the Ribfest website. So restaurants in this area, and I'm going to say maybe 30 of them, but I'm not sure of that. I have checks in my car that I'm going to deliver to area restaurants totaling about 6,000 or 7,000. Everyone has different restaurants. So the restaurants that I have, I'm going to be handing checks. So it's a shot in the arm. I'm bringing one restaurant owner about $5,000 today.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Because
we don't realize the struggles that these folks are being. Every business, but I look at the restaurant industry in particular, who without the diners, without people coming there, their business tanks, and they're trying to do whatever they can do.
Think about restaurants in every community, and bigger than the auto industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a unique happening between competitive restaurants down my way. There's a half a dozen or so. And now what they've done is they've all gotten together. They close off the streets on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Put out tables there so that anybody can come and go to the different restaurants and sit around, and they're all advertising it together and working together because the survival of one is the survival of all.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about all the men and women who gain a living, right?
Yeah.
Dan Gatos is one of them from our station here. And there's a whole bunch of people that have been on the sidelines. So, please support the area restaurants and all businesses if you can. I know people, it's easy to, click on Amazon and go buy a a clothesline pin. Whoever has clotheslines, are they still around?
Yeah, clotheslines. They are. Yeah, people put their look, and again in today's why not? I inherited a clothesline when I bought the little farm that I'm living on now. The folks had a clothesline,
and you use it.
Yeah, why not?
Throw a sheet on it out there.
You get that fresh air smell. Procter and Gamble tried to package that, and you
can't replicate it.
No. But I've spoken to a number of small business owners. I've seen what they've done. Some of them, quite honestly, have had a record a few months as a result of the pandemic. I spoke to a gentleman yesterday in the lumber and building industry business, and he said they can't get material that they are. He said the sad thing that he's seeing is the price gouging.
Right.
Where I think he said to me a sheet of plywood may have been $16 and now it's $29. Those kind of things.
Well, is that due also to a shortage of supply?
Could be very well. Could be
I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing is that the building trades are complaining because production stopped mostly due to the pandemic, or where was this stuff coming from? Canada, Timbuktu, somewhere, and you can't get it into the country.
So we're also learning to live like that, to be adaptable like that, and to not be laser focused into one particular product, but being able to just go to the grocery store. I mean, you could see what's happening if you're the household grocery shopper. There are some items that just are not available.
So you do something
else.
else.
You learn to bob and weave.
What I didn't mention was our 7:30 guest is also in the studio today. That's you.
Oh, hey, I'll sit. I'll move over to the other chair.
So here was the whole plan, and I probably should have communicated this up front. I'm going to ask that you give us and our listeners an overview of what's going around in the state on with respect to the job that you do every day, schools. You just give us the walking tour of what's happening, what you're seeing, please.
I certainly will share that with you in the 7:30 hour. Right now, I like to talk. I'm enjoying talking about what's happening right out our back door, though.
Yes.
And just I think of the farm stands. I think of the folks there. The Saunders Kills, the Kelders, the Barthel farms that I drive
down in Highland.
And now they're being innovative. They're doing smart things. They're working hard. It becomes really that ingenuity. And kudos to the farmers who probably have lived that life.
For
forever.
years. They've had to pivot like almost every few years, do something different, reinvent themselves.
So did you have any local corn this year?
I did. And tomatoes, which were delicious.
Outrageous.
Corn outrageous.
I found that this year's corn crop was just beyond belief. Tomatoes, I'm very biased when it comes to tomatoes. I live on a small farm, and the woman I live with is a tomato freak. She has 48 feet of tomatoes growing.
What do you do with all those tomatoes? You can't eat them. You got to can them. You can them.
And canning's become a challenge too. Finding canning jars,
mason jars.
Mason. So there's dehydrating the tomatoes. I mean, there's all kinds of uniqueness. I've seen more YouTube channels on what to do with tomatoes, but no, we've had an amazing growing season down our way. But the corn this year was exceptional, and I stop at every farm stand when I travel and pick up some corn here and pick up some corn there. I become a corn connoisseur.
Well, it was a hot summer. Right, it was a pretty hot summer.
I guess it was a good corn.
Humid and hot, and maybe some occasional rain. So,
and the melons this year, in particular, too, also seem to have become sweeter and larger. I could say that.
How about the farmers markets? Are you seeing? I mean, I know the pandemic has put a little kibosh on those, right?
I mean, there's again, kudos to the farmers. They're not afraid to work hard,
right?
And the market is a way to monetize their hard work and the crops that they grow. And what a great experience to walk into the farmers market, for example, the Kingston market, and walk down the street.
And that's on John Street now, though.
And be able to pick up just great organically grown products that
Yeah.
taste. It's hard to go back to store-bought products once you pull,
I know, you can't.
pull a tomato off the vine.
Yeah, no,
your
you
own vine, or
can't.
things
No, you
like
can't.
That, so.
That's just it's not good. So let's talk about a need out there. So we have we're in the middle of our KCR Radiothon. We're trying to raise 12,000. We're just about at 6,000. So if you have not contributed out there and you're a loyal, faithful listener to KCR and you love hearing what you hear 5 days a week, please think about contributing. Any amount is accepted. If you can do 20, 50, 100 would be great. Or if you can write a check for $6,000, that would be fantastic. But seriously, we appreciate anyone who's contributed so far. We know we have a lot of folks that have, but if you have not and you can afford it, please send your check into Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston 12402. And, we're trying to figure the finances out here. We're in some new digs, right? This is the first time you've been in our digs.
It's magnificent.
Right?
If you haven't been here,
it's like a real deal.
I think there needs to be studio tours.
There you go.
Really,
there you go, Lawrence. We can maybe charge $15 for a studio tour.
Lawrence, it is beautiful.
Per person.
You.
So, Lawrence, can you Venmo or your money in for this?
You can go on the website. And
you can go on the website to mykcr.org.
Right, click on the donate button.
Yeah, there's a Noble Acts thing. You can click on that. It actually takes 30 seconds.
Yeah. Right.
When Tony said check, it sounds like pretty old
Ancient.
school.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been, a lot of people haven't even been calling in and pledging. They just send their check in.
Yeah.
We just got a few in the other day.
Yeah.
So what's the new address? Because it used to
It's
be
a P.O. box now.
Oh,
I'll let
physical.
Tony finish. He was doing such a great job.
It used to be 82 John Street. I remember that off the top of my head.
Yeah, we're not there anymore,
Lucas.
thank
Is it
God.
50? What Lucas?
The P.O. box is 4364, and it's Kingston, but the zip code's different, Elliott. It's
12402. But what's our physical address again?
Our physical address is, we don't want to, it's 16 Lucas Avenue.
16.
Yeah.
16 Lucas. So there you go.
Formerly known as the Family Court Building.
Yeah, and
Correct.
Nina and Lou said that they were housed here back in '88. Maybe were you working for
No,
them?
I wouldn't. Thank goodness.
So in
no.
'88, they had to close down the Ulster
He was in
County Building
Ellenville.
because of asbestos.
Yeah.
So it was closed for at least 2 years. Right, Tony?
When I came to the
Yes.
county, the public defender was in the back, so to speak.
Right.
And the family court was up front. Family court was reinvented a few times. Very busy court.
Yes.
You could probably still hear echoes of what was going on here, but it's a magnificent job.
Yeah, they
there
did a
for
good
us.
job fixing it up, and the other people that are in the building, the other tenants, they're nice. There's a grid on the back for 8 units. There's 6 of them taken up already. The spa, I think, takes up half of the first floor.
Great.
There's an acupuncture place in the back, and then
Right.
they're working on. There's one across the hall that I'm going to show you. But when the show's over, that's what this place looked like when me and my mother came in here and decided
it
that
all
we
out.
wanted to move.
Well, a testament to the owner of the building and the retrofitting of this building. It
Right.
it really looks terrific.
Very professional. I also want to thank our underwriters who support us, every month. The Lions Club Foundation, Rondout Savings Bank, Central Hudson, Herzog's, Friends of Kevin Cahill, Ulster Savings Bank, Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, the Village Apothecary, and Ulster Federal Credit Union. So thank you. We're also looking for underwriters, and it's a great deal because you get some time to come in and talk about your business and get the word out about what you're doing, and it helps our not-for-profit station, right? We're a 501c3, and no one's making $1 million here getting rich. We're just trying to get the word out. We're the community's radio. You can
Right.
call in here and talk about just about whatever you want to talk about, and you'll be received. You won't be pushed back saying, well, we're not going to talk about that. We try to keep everything up above board and have good discourse.
You know what I was kind of hoping, Tony, and I hope Lawrence is listening to this, if, the community radio aspect, we could have gone down to Stone Ridge, and grabbed a hold of Cousin Brucey before, he left Sirius and went back to WABC, but he would have been,
still alive?
he would have been,
Yes, he's
oh my
still
gosh, he's
alive.
back
Really?
on
What, is he
ABC.
like, 85 now?
Yeah, Cousin Brucey's.
he's up there pretty good. He's up there pretty
I
He's
sat
not a
with
cousin anymore. He's a grandpa now.
Grandpa
He's a
Brucey.
great-grandpa.
I sat with Cousin Brucey. He was a wing fling
Yeah.
judge.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so Cousin
I remember the wing
he came
fling.
to the wing fling, the
Chambers
Chambers
wing fling, yeah.
and he was a judge at the wing Winkling, but he left Sirius Radio after, I don't know, 15 years or something, and went back to his home base radio, WABC. But Lawrence, he's
going to be 85 in October 13th.
Maybe we can get the cousin to do like a half an hour, once a week show.
He'll probably want like a $50,000.
No, he would do. He loves Ulster County. He would do it. He would do it just out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, 85 on October 13th.
Oh, I was just kidding. Really, he is 85.
Yeah. You're born in 1935.
He looks great though.
I didn't know Don Imus was dead until like a month ago. Yeah, I got to keep up on the
current news. All right, so we're going to go to break. We're going to come back with our special guest for at 7:30. That'd be the Deputy Comptroller of New York State, Elliott Auerbach.
Now, will he be in the studio or he'll be calling in?
The rumor was he was going to come in. Previously, he's called in, but we're looking forward to seeing Elliott in the flesh. And oh, he's here! Oh my God!
Quarantined for 177 days.
Right. All right, Lawrence, take it away.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
100 years ago, there were 100,000 tigers in the wild. Today, there are as few as 3,200. The Earth's wild animals can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Central Hudson reminds you that summer thunderstorms can strike with strong, gusty winds, knocking down trees and power lines. If you see a downed power line, call 911 immediately to report it. Power lines can carry an electric current strong enough to cause injury or death. Stay at least 30 feet away from a fallen line. Don't try to move it or anything that has come in contact with it. And never drive over a power line. Remember, your safety matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
All right, folks, we're back. This is Thunder Thursday, and this is, MASH.
MASH and Crash and Flash and Zoom.
Alan Alda.
Boom and gloom.
Right. Yeah, we were watching some of, it's called Me TV. It was hilarious. We went to the Hamptons for just a little bit, Hampton Bays, and did a little Long Island, 3 or 4 days off. And we watched a whole bunch of, some old-time TV, Andy Griffith and the Munsters, and it was hilarious. I mean, we had, I think Gunsmoke might have been Wagon Train. Makes
you laugh.
Oh, it was like, some of it was so bad, so bad. But at the time, we thought it was cool. So this is Tony Marmo, and co-host today.
Elliott Auerbach.
Right. So, and once upon a time, Elliott was the first Ulster County comptroller.
And the second, and the third,
and the fourth. Right, and now has spread out a little bit, and now has a good chunk of New York State as your responsibility in terms of what's happening, and on the financial side and the keeping everybody honest side, so to speak, or trying to shine a light. How about that? Shine a light.
Good way. Urging transparency.
Right. So tell us what's what's happening.
My responsibility, Tony, is I am overseeing local government and school accountability. So I have 700 school districts, 950 towns, 535 or 36 villages, the cities, the 57 counties outside of the metropolitan area. So we're keeping pretty busy, to say the least.
Where is your office located?
So I have 7 offices. My base of operation is in Albany.
Okay.
Right down the street from the Capitol. The comptroller has a wonderful 15-story building on 110 State Street.
Great.
And then we have regional offices in Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, Binghamton, Hauppauge, Long Island, in the Hudson Valley, in Newburgh, Utica. So it's really, it's
major cities.
Yeah, look, it's
but not NYC.
And in New York City, yeah,
New York City.
59 Maiden Lane in New York City as well. So get a chance to travel. Yesterday, I virtually traveled. In the morning, I was in Binghamton. In the afternoon, I was in Buffalo.
Yeah. Are you doing a lot more of that now?
Yeah,
with
it's wonderful.
The pandemic?
And there's the sidebar to that is that it makes life a little easier in the sense that you're using technology and you're leveraging that.
Right.
So that's been great. The comptroller, I don't have to tell you what a great guy he is.
He's very active.
He has committed his staff right now, my team, to helping those local governments and school districts work through this crisis, and that's really been the biggest challenge. The beginning of the week, we introduced for municipalities and local governments a COVID financial toolkit, just electronically, digitally, for those folks who can need some resources and what to do. The comptroller was also very involved in introducing some legislation that was signed by the governor a couple weeks ago to provide immediate financial relief for school districts and local governments, abilities to generate some working capital, as I like to say, using the resources that they already have, so borrowing from themselves.
Right.
So let's say you're a school district and you have $5 million in a reserve fund, a capital reserve fund, that you wanted to build a new athletic field or a new building. And right now, of course, you're not doing that. The comptroller's legislation allows those municipalities to borrow that money, their own money. Right. So they're not going to the market, they're not paying interest rates, they're not doing anything like that. And that gives them capital to operate with.
It's kind of like the economic injury disaster loan, right? A little bit, but that's federal money. But this is a way to access capital.
And it's their own money. It's
keep the doors open.
And then, of course, we're seeing some infusion of federal money into the local governments that have large populations, counties, Erie County, Nassau County, Suffolk County, Westchester County, so we keep an eye on that. But our basic charge right now, we are the state's oversight auditing team of all of these local governments and schools. But right now, our charge right now is to work with these governments to try and help them get through this crisis. And each one has its own unique story. I don't have to tell you. What goes on in Poughkeepsie is different than what happens in Tivoli. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
Now, each one is a local government, but each one, the Rob Rollisons of Poughkeepsie have a different issue than, let's say, even Mayor Noble of Kingston. So working with them, it's a lot of hand-holding. It's a lot of talking people off the ledge, I will tell you that. And, let's look at our local elected officials and think about who they are. They're our neighbors and our friends who have all of a sudden been thrown into this crisis, unbeknownst to them.
Right.
I think of a town supervisor like a Jim Quigley, or or a small village mayor like down by me, like Jeff Kaplan. They didn't sign up for this.
No.
This was not what they wanted to be doing.
Those that have had some business experience, and most of the town officials, I would say, because it's not a full-time job per se, at least it never used to be. Maybe now it's turned into it. They have had possibly a business career and owned a business or worked in a big place, so they know what it's like to make payroll and struggle with revenue.
Correct.
And so
Correct.
those that have that kind of a background, I think maybe have a better, I'll not say advantage, but a better approach than someone who's just not had.
No, I hear what you're saying,
what I mean?
and you're right. But the uniqueness is when it comes to government, specifically in New York State, are the understanding of what you can and cannot do, what the statutory laws are,
regulations are,
how you move within the confines of government.
Right.
And that's why the comptroller put forth this legislation. It's enabling. You could not, if you were, let's say the village of Saugerties, and you had this capital reserve fund, up until now you could not unlock that. That had to be money that was specifically set aside for this project. Well, right now with the new legislation, the comptroller has given you a key to unlock it. Now you got to. There's some strings. Right. There's a lot of strings. I will tell you that.
Right.
But you're sitting again. I use that as an example, especially when it comes to school district, because you're sitting with this inordinate amount of cash on hand, capital on hand.
Right.
Why not be able to unlock that and use that temporarily to
that's
help
great.
make payroll, to help,
Sure.
you follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that was one of the things. The other thing that the comptroller really worked hard on is that a lot of municipalities go out and borrow money, and there's a set payback period.
Right.
Especially when you borrow what they call bond anticipation
Right.
notes. So he's extended that payback period. So instead of so what it really does is it frees up some additional cash for you. And then the last thing in his most recent legislation was to be able to borrow from interfunds within your own government. Let's say you're a town of Ulster and you have a water fund and a sewer fund and a general fund. You could borrow from that water fund or sewer fund
for immediate needs.
Right. So these are the kind of things. These are the tools. The comptroller's been out traveling the state virtually and physically. I may add, and I know that he'll be talking to all of the town supervisors in the next few weeks and has a conversation with all of the mayors from the cities and villages throughout the state.
And by the way, we talk about a lot of the problems and issues with the pandemic. I think one of the positives that come out of it is now you could have a Zoom meeting with, or a GoToMeeting, or you name it meeting, a Skype, whatever you want to do, with 20, 30, 40 instead of traveling to New York City. I mean, it's been a huge advantage, I think, to getting the word out, and so
it's changed. It does.
It's changed how we communicate.
Right, it changed how we communicate. I do miss the socialization,
Absolutely.
But I will say this: the advantage. We use Microsoft Teams internally, and then use Zoom or WebEx or GoToMeetings externally. I will say that it is. Yesterday afternoon I had a meeting at 3:30 in the afternoon. One of the deputies was from New York. It was in New York City. One of them was up in Binghamton. One of them was in Buffalo. You bring those folks together at the snap of a finger, and it makes life easy. So that's changed. The challenges in state government, of course, we're watching it across the board, the struggles that New York State is having. Realize this, let's take personal income tax, for example. Well, that's a revenue for the state. When people pay their state, that's an
income.
So that's been pushed out, So the people now, so all of a sudden your cash flow, you follow what I'm saying? Let's bring it back to the business side of the equation. When you have less money coming in and more money going out, you got a problem. You got a challenge. So, and then add to it the health crisis on top of that.
Yeah, no, it's just a conglomeration of just a concern after concern, and I look at it saying, okay, well, can we? It's been 6 months roughly, right? February to now.
I think 180 something.
Yeah, there you go.
183 days.
And so I'm thinking, okay, let's get to the first of the year. We know we're in the funny season called a national election.
Right.
We get through that intact, hopefully. Hopefully that there's going to be some kind of the vaccine that's going to be effective. Something that's going to make people feel like they can get back to relative normalcy. Relative,
right.
Because we have to start generating income, sales tax. I mean,
yeah,
we have to start doing that.
Right, the economy needs to ramp up.
It's got to get started.
You know,
up
Tony,
again.
though, I will say this to you, and this is a couple of history lessons that I've gleaned from this. One is that we've gone through a serious economic downturn in 08, 09.
Right.
You know, we watched how
the recession,
government's struggling too. And we've gone through a health crisis, not like this, as large as this, but what was it, the H1N1?
H1N1, the swine flu, yeah.
I mean, I remember...
Which, by the way, was a coronavirus.
I remember Dr. Lamar Hasbrook when he was here. He he had these inoculation centers, these vaccine centers that we worked at, and people volunteered.
So I remember it well.
We've risen to the occasion to fight that fight, and we've risen to the occasion to fight the economic fight.
Right.
Now we need to look back at the successes that we had in both of those areas, bring them together, and use them now. And I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I know, again, I could talk to you from the economic standpoint. We relied heavily on what was the successes and failures back in the 08, 09 and 2010.
Real estate plunge.
Yeah, and then we tried to glean from that some of the successes and bring that back to the local governments to show them that they could do this. I'm optimistic.
Yeah,
again,
well, I think we have to be.
It's the struggles that folks are going through.
Yeah.
It's the young guy who I spoke to, who's probably about 41 or 42 the other day, with 2 kids who lost his job for no other reason than his company closed down.
Yeah.
You know, so what do you do then? So then the ripple effect, the domino effect, is what happens to your health insurance? What happen? Those kind of things.
Right.
That's the part that I really wish that we can attack and resolve immediately.
Yeah.
Everything else will happen. Everything else will fall into place.
I would say the social services safety net is struggling right now.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's just because there are a lot of folks that have lost their job through no fault of their own. And where do you go? The unemployment numbers are skyrocketing. They're coming down a little bit. You were referring to jobs. We have picked up within the last month significantly. I mean, we have 14, 15 jobs that we're trying to fill right now, which is great, because we were really way down, but now we're coming back up, and we're getting more people coming back into the workplace. Some of them are, maybe not, necessarily, just walk in and think, I don't need a job. There's no walk-ins anymore. But basically, we're seeing more businesses looking for people, and more people coming out of hibernation saying, okay, unemployment's done, I got to get back into the workplace. Right. And that's necessary.
I've seen that, the help wanted signs pop up.
Oh, yeah.
Or the hiring signs, I should say. That's really the area that I think we need to address immediately. Right. Everything else will work itself out. The municipalities will work themselves out. I know they're struggling too. They're belt tightening. Right. We're hoping to avoid furloughs and layoffs. There's been some incentives of early retirement.
Right.
We saw an uptick in retirement from teachers and state employees who filed their papers. So we've seen that uptick as well. It's really, and you don't realize it, Tony. You don't realize the one. I mean, you do. But one thing has a dramatic impact on the other thing that has it on the other thing.
It's a domino. It's a domino. So, folks, this is Kingston Community Radio. You're listening either on 92.5 FM or 920 AM, or maybe you're watching or listening on YouTube. It's an easy way to tune into the program. It doesn't matter where you are. We record shows. We're going to be putting shows up on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already. It's simple. It's free. And it allows us to keep posting content on the YouTube channel. We're in the middle of a radiothon trying to raise $12,000. We're just about at $6,000. So we need folks to contribute. Please go on our website. You can click the donate button to KCR, or you can send in an old-fashioned check to KCR P.O. Box 4364, Kingston 12402. We need your support to keep this show on the air. I'm going to also talk quickly about the Ladies' Ancient Order of the Hibernians. They are having their 3rd annual lasagna dinner.
Oh, baby.
Now, how do those nice Hibernians know how to cook lasagna? I don't know. But there might be some Italians in there that maybe half Irish, half Italian. So it's a takeout-only deal. It's Saturday, September 12th. which is a week from this Saturday. It's going to be at the VFW, 706 East Chester Street. Pickup available from 4 to 7. Adults are $14. Children under 10 are 10. It's lasagna, tossed salad, fresh bread, homemade dessert. Sangria will be available at an additional fee. So if you want more information, call Chrissy at 901-1191 or Pam, sister, I think they're twins actually, 901-1465. So good luck to the Hibernians, the ladies, Ancient Order of the Hibernians. And the Y is starting their Bike It program. The YMCA open again. Thank you, Governor Cuomo, for reopening the gyms. Lordy. But the Y has been doing this Bike It. It's a youth cycling program. And if you want further information on that, please call the Y at 338-3810. They bike all over Ulster County. Tom Polk is involved in that. It's a great program, and it's been going on for some time. I'm a proud member of the YMCA as a member and as a board member. So.
And you know, kudos to the Ys of the world who really have become the center of the universe for a lot of families. I know, my daughter and her two little girls are big Y users where they live, and
talk about social safety, social services. Man,
so those are the kind of things that we don't realize are dramatically impacted by this crisis. The not-for-profits, the struggles that they have. Tony, it's tough times. I'll tell you that. But we will rise to it. That's the one thing I see. We will be innovative. We'll be use ingenuity, as we talked about early on. And I give a tremendous amount of credit to those folks who are serving on the local school boards, to the local elected officials, the town council members, the village boards, the legislature. I mean, they've rolled up their sleeves and they're taking it on.
Jumping in. Anyone wants to call in, please do at 331-9255. You have a question for our New York State Deputy Comptroller, Elliott Auerbach, who's also hosting today. So we get him on double dip. We got a call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. What's your question, comment?
Well, a couple of questions. The first one is, with all the people leaving New York State, we're going to lose all that income that comes from that, and the closing of businesses. All those taxes are not going to be coming in. But do you have the power to freeze all raises for both the Assembly, the Senate, for the Executive Office, and for our school districts? We have here in Ulster County the outrage where we get a brand new, head of BOCES that goes up and raises his salary greatly, but then cuts over 70 assistants to special ed programs. That everyone has to make sacrifices. We're going to borrow against all of our income, all our monies that may be in terms of emergency areas. All that's going to be gone, and that's going to have to be made up. And with more and more people leaving the state, how are we going to do that? But first and probably most important, we see that all over, people are getting raises in government and in educational programs. Are you willing to freeze all of their raises?
How's it going?
I would I would love to have that power. What we're again, there's a lot of home rule issue here. It depends on the locality, the school district. What we are seeing though is a freeze of salary raises in state government. I can't speak for the school districts or the local governments, and we're also seeing a dramatic hiring freeze, and in some cases through retirement we're seeing that there are unfilled vacancies too to free up some cash. So that's what I'm seeing on at my level. I can't speak for the school districts or the local municipalities.
Well, just keep trying to get it, because we have no idea what the impact is going to be at the end of this year and next year. And if we keep seeing the loss of businesses, the loss of taxes, people working, and how the financial condition of this state is going to be terrible. And if we do get a freeze on some of these cities, that the money won't be there, how are they going to be able to continue to operate?
Yeah, it's a good point, Dr. Paul. I mean, I think the exodus from New York State has started, I'm going to say 5 years ago, or maybe even longer, because, the tax structure is so strangling here. You go to the Carolinas or Tennessee or Kentucky, and you hear people saying, oh, what's your total taxes here? $600 a year. It's like, right. Okay, how do they do business there differently than we're doing? I mean, I don't get it, but I think the pandemic has exacerbated the issue now of people, saying, okay, this is the final straw. And yeah, I mean, I think we have to look at our state from a very hard standpoint and say, we got to do business differently here. And the salary increases probably are poorly timed, at least.
Right.
And
optically, at least.
Optically, come on, you can't be giving $37,000 raises to people at a time where people are losing their jobs like crazy. I don't care what the salary scales say. We're saying, okay, well, geez, we're trying to be competitive in this salary line, so let's give this fellow a $37,000 raise or whatever the number is. That's just bad timing, right?
But I also think you're going to see, at least I could talk for government, and I could see it at the state level. You're going to see government changing the way it operates, and for the better. The importance of physically being somewhere right now has changed dramatically through technology. I often, ask questions, do you need these office buildings all throughout the state? Can you...
Answer now is no.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, again, right now we're throwing out those questions and seeing what sticks. But I think what we've seen to date is that there is going to be a different way that government is being delivered. However, that being said, I also think we can't turn a blind eye to the essential services that the local governments deliver.
No, absolutely.
And so we need to figure that out as well,
right.
Or those essential services that the schools and the school districts
right.
deliver. We need to figure that out too.
Bottom line is, and thank you, Dr. Paul, for raising it, it's time to reinvent ourselves,
Correct.
Right? We got to go.
Good way to put it.
Right. And also provide safety for the people, which
Yes.
we're seeing the rise of crime is just terrific.
First and foremost, absolutely. Go back to the basics of why government was formed right at the beginning.
Right. So here's an
Thank you.
Here's an opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Paul.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
So we talk about here's an opportunity from every aspect of how we live.
Yeah.
To change change the deliverables.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. It's daunting.
Well,
it's fascinating.
It's opportunity.
There's some
opportunity.
There's some big thinkers out there, much smarter than me, who are really looking at this. But I do see the opportunity.
I would say also people in government now have to have the political courage to do that. And if it means you may not get reelected, by the way, if you do something like that bold and dramatic, you probably will get reelected. If you stay in a shell, I think people are going to say, well, we really need some new thinking here.
Right. The pendulum has swung. People are paying attention too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I will say to you.
We won't even talk about Washington because that's a whole nother show. But
yeah.
But they have to reinvent themselves, and it's not same old, and I think people are just getting fed up with the world, the way it used to be, can't be the world going forward anymore.
Right.
So,
but I'm going to say this to you, Tony, and I'll bring it down to a level that I think everybody can appreciate. We still want to be able to pick up the phone, call up 911, and know that an ambulance is going to be there in 5 minutes. 10 minutes.
Man.
No, do you follow what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
No, it's
That's
like
basic, essential.
Right. So we need to figure that part out. I often say the joke. I think one of my sons once said to me is, "Everybody wants cell service, but nobody wants a cell tower in the backyard." That kind of thing.
Right.
So we need to figure those things out from that standpoint. I spoke to the one of the heads of EMS in the state the other day, who's been really running in place, training people about PPE. All these things there. And we were talking about just that, those essential services. And let me tell you what I'm seeing happening across the state. And this worries me. And it's on a totally different level. our volunteerism has dropped down.
Oh, yeah.
So, the local volunteer ambulance services, the fire, the fire
Rotaries, the Kiwanis,
right. So
that
I'm
are
worried about
providing services.
we don't think of that as a crisis right now, but God help you when you want to pick up the phone and, like I say, call that 911 number. So those are the kind of things also. So while we're worried about addressing everything that comes along with the pandemic and all those other issues, we need not to neglect those essential services that we provide.
Go back to that good old guy, I'm not sure what his first name is, Maslow.
Yeah.
Maslow in the hierarchy of needs, food, shelter, safety, stuff like that. Let's start there and
so Lawrence
figure
is
out the
giving
rest.
us the finger.
I know.
It was the one finger, though. It was
the fickle finger of fate.
Right. So we're going to throw it back to you, Lawrence. Is that okay?
We're coming back on with Bill Calderara from Ulster Savings Bank and Dana Kuhn from the Scout exec from Rip Van Winkle Council. So please come back to us.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
Central Hudson reminds you, when you're doing yard work, safety matters. If you use a ladder, be aware of overhead electric lines, including the service wire that runs to your house. Even wooden ladders can conduct electricity with dangerous results. And be very careful if there are electric lines above or near a swimming pool, and you're working with skimmers, brooms, or other long-handled tools. Central Hudson wishes you a safe summer.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing, we got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, supervisor of the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
Okay, let's keep KCR alive. We're doing our effort today. This is Thunder Thursday, and this is Splash
and gloom.
I would to be flash and boom, but
I'd like to say bloom.
Right.
I was once
Bloom is good.
told by a social studies teacher, you need to bloom where you're planted. So I like
that's
the
good
bloom
advice.
one.
This is Tony Marmo.
And it's Elliott Auerbach.
Right, co-hosting, pinch hitting for Scott Harrington, who's sunbathing in his Speedo down in St. Augustine, trying to catch a marlin. That is a scary sight.
It's close. That thought.
He's got a hairy back and in a Speedo. That might be, I don't know, one of those Bigfoot sightings. I'm not sure. No, we love Scott. He's not here, so we can pick on him a little bit. And although we are recording this show now, it's going to be posted up on YouTube, so he can. So welcome to our guests. This is the Ulster Savings Bank, one of our great underwriters, and the CEO and Kingston Rotarian. I'm just throwing that in since I had my Rotary mask on. Bill Calderara, welcome.
Thank you, Tony.
And also the treasurer of the Ulster County Italian American Foundation, and also on the is he a scouting board member yet?
He's my council president. How do you think I got here?
Yeah, I see that. And whenever you want to get something done, ask a busy person, right?
Touché.
That's exactly what that's. And we're joined by Dana Kuhn, who's a relatively new scouting executive, right?
Correct.
Because I remember, I think you might have been with us in the old digs. These are the new shiny digs now.
I got very concerned when I pulled in, going, this is
Right. What we might do for guests is have them do a spa experience and then come into the studio. Right. Could be, at least you'll smell really good.
That would be great.
Spa.
Yeah.
So
do the show from the spa one day.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Right. It's not a bad idea. We have in the hot rocks room or something. I don't know what we do. So welcome, and please, it's your half hour, and let's talk about whatever you two want to talk about.
Sure. So happy to be there as always, especially
Thank you,
Elliott. But I wanted to bring Dana in again as the scouting secretary, just to talk about what scouting is still doing.
Yeah.
With the pandemic going on, it's still active and it's still going on, and
right.
We have coming up an Eagle recognition for Eagle Scouts. We graduated 40 or 41 Eagle Scouts last year, but we weren't able to do an Eagle recognition dinner for them because it was more than a 50-person gathering. So we've actually put something online that's going to be coming out, and we're doing a virtual recognition for the Eagles, and we want people to know about that so they can get the recognition. At least 16, somewhere between 16 and 20 of the Eagles are participating in that.
So when did they do their projects then? Was it pre-pandemic-ish? These were
all last year's
19's,
projects, 19's
19's.
Eagles and projects where they got awarded their Eagle last year, and then we recognize them usually with a dinner toward the beginning of the year, but would have been in a May-June time frame that we would have had their dinner, and they're missing out on that. So we want to make sure that people are aware that they go out to this virtual piece, and quite frankly, maybe sponsor one of the Eagles.
So can you really, for folks who don't understand it, can you really talk about what an Eagle Scout project is and what some of the projects were and are?
Sure. I'll let you take some, and I can.
Thanks. The whole purpose of an Eagle project is for in the old days, it used to be a young man. Now it's open to girls as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is for a youth to show leadership and become a leader and experience the trials and tribulations of being leaders. They have to come up with a plan of what they want to do. They have to come up with a project. They put the plan together of what they're going to do to put it together. They have to come up with project lists of materials. They need to fund it. And they put together this whole project. They have to get it all done in advance and get it planned out, and then have that plan approved by volunteers to say this is a feasible
worthy project, right?
Worthy project, feasible project. And then they have to turn around and they have to implement it and put this whole thing together that they've developed a plan for. Once the plan's been put together, and once the project has been completed, there's the follow-up aspect of it where they sit down with the leadership and say, okay, where did it go right and where did it go wrong? Okay. What happened? Because as you know, some of the best lessons we can learn are the lessons we learn from mistakes. And Scouting is a wonderful organization because one of the things that happens in Scouting, and I was just talking about this with someone yesterday, is that this is an organization where people can come and make mistakes. Kids can make mistakes and be encouraged to learn from their mistakes, but not be punished for their mistakes. That's what's so exciting about this program. It's one of the reasons I've stuck with this program as long as I have. So through this process, they learn from their mistakes. They figure out what they have to do. They learn to make lists, checklists, follow and do the things they're supposed to do. And then at the end of this, like I said, they're rewarded. Some of the projects that we've seen vary from the simple to the elaborate. In my experience, I'm aware of the most elaborate one that I've ever seen was there was a point in a road that was badly overgrown. And nobody knew it, but there was a monument inside that point. And it was cement walls, everything, but it was so badly overgrown with everything, nobody knew.
Obscured,
Nobody knew it even existed. So it was one of these that was filled with thorn bushes and brambles and everything. And there was a scout troop that waded into the center of that and took down all of the bushes, the shrubbery, everything, cleaned it down, and turned it into a memorial again. But in doing so, they also realized that they needed to go out and fundraise for it because a lot of the cement walls were starting to fall over. So they raised about $10,000 as a scout unit to pay for this program to rebuild this memorial so that it now looks presentable to the community. So what was this terrible spot to what now is this great spot.
All right, I probably get a demerit today because I forgot the birthday. I was so excited to introduce you guys. Sorry, Lawrence.
I looked down and saw the sheet.
So September 3rd is today. Please wish a happy 81st birthday to Marge Z. It's spelled Z-E-E-H. We're going to say Z. I hope I didn't screw that up. And from your friends at the Wellness and Healthy Lifestyle Club. And guess who the winner is? From Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 on Neal Street in Kingston. The winner is Marge Z. So happy birthday. Happy 81st birthday.
Happy birthday, Marge.
Marge, enjoy it and enjoy your cow pie. And hopefully you're going to share that because it's probably too much for one person to eat, I think, right? Yep. It is a lot to eat. Maybe a few sittings. So those are our birthday today. And back to our guests, Bill Calderara and Dana Kuhn.
Elliott, I'll tell you quickly about a project that I was involved with, so I know a lot of details about it. My son's an Eagle Scout, and his project, he went to the local fire departments, and they only had maps, physical maps of where some of the, we call them dry hydrants are. So the regular fire hydrants they had, but the dry hydrants when a development went in and they just, put a pipe into a lake or something, and most of the time they're left as just the PVC pipe coming out, which if it's exposed to sun for a long period of time deteriorates in different pieces. So he with his troop went around. They found from the physical maps and found that many of them weren't where they were supposed to be on the physical maps because the developer, when they put in the project, found it was easier to move it someplace else. Found all these dry hydrants, painted them red so that they now would last longer. They got a special tape from the fire department, the reflective tape that you sometimes see on the signs and houses, and marked them. But then went one step further and GPS located 100% of them and then programmed them into the fire trucks, right? So now the fire truck comes into a neighborhood, they hit a button on their screen, and every hydrant within an area goes up. That's when they actually got recognized from Homeland Security for and
How
award
great
from.
is
So,
that?
there's some really important projects that these kids do as part of it, and as Dana said, the leadership that they learn. The whole real program about scouting is character development, leadership, citizenship, and that's if it was ever needed, it's needed now more than ever.
Absolutely. So the benefit side of it is multifaceted. It sounds like, which is phenomenal. So is there, when somebody becomes an Eagle Scout, tell me what their history is along the scouting trail. Where do they start? They how does that begin?
Boy, is that a long road.
How much time do we have?
You may not have enough. So most scouts begin when they're about 10 and a half to 11 years old. And they come in as the very lowest rank, which is a scout. And they start working their way through progressions from tenderfoot to second class to first class. And those are the basic skills. In those particular ranks, they're learning their basic skills. They're learning how to use a compass. And yes, we still use a compass because guess what?
Not your phone GPS.
Phones run out of batteries.
Right.
Compasses always
Never.
work.
Right.
You know? So compasses, they learn how to build fires. They learn how to cook. And what a lot of it is the basic skills that...
Life skills, right?
Life skills that you need so
Right.
that you can be successful.
But they don't teach in high school necessarily anymore, right?
They also
Common
have-
Core.
Right. Well, they also have you doing things like service projects. You're expected to go help the Eagle who's working on his project. You're supposed to go help work on his project with him so that you're a grunt of
Right.
sorts. But you're also being taught at this point to do service to others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what our program is about.
Yeah.
So we get through these basic skills. Once you start getting into the higher ranks, you start getting into STAR. And STAR, you're starting to be expected to provide some leadership.
Mm-hmm.
For you to advance, you need to be one of the leaders. It's not easy being a leader, especially when you're dealing with 7 younger kids, or 7 other kids.
Right.
You know, and having 8 kids together, 8 young men,
or women,
right. Correct. But having
Young
8
ladies.
youth together can be a very challenging experience, especially for a kid, because let's face it, you have 8 opinions and they're going to go 8 different directions.
Right.
But leadership starts playing into this role, and the higher you go in the scouting program, you get more responsibility and more leadership, and it continues. And now you're also getting into required merit badges. And some of the required merit badges are things like first aid, communications, environmental science,
Personal finance.
Personal finance.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome.
Citizenship.
Life skills, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It is. It's basic life skills. And one of the merit badges, I had to learn how to balance a checkbook.
Oh, no.
I see you guys shaking
your shoes and socks off and do that.
That's one of the skills that kids don't know how to do today.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me at times
Yeah.
because I've even, personal experience, I've walked into stores and I've seen folks who have had challenges being able to make change, even though the machine sits there and says, give me $3.63 change.
Yeah.
You see them struggling to make 63 cents.
Yeah.
You know, so those are the things that are going on.
So earlier you talked about 41 Eagle Scout recipients in 2019. That seems like a big number to me. I mean, like by a lot,
That's
right?
great, though.
Yeah.
Why? What happened in 2019? It just the stars came together, stars aligned, or just because normally is 15 or 20 about a right number or less?
Well,
sometimes
in some counts, we've in our council had a lot of Eagle Scouts, so we do graduate a lot of Eagles,
Right.
because it's an active program. We have some great troops,
Yeah.
and advancement chairs and different pieces. So and as Dana said, it's the younger kids are seeing these older kids advance and getting
and they want to do that,
right, and it just
They're following
inspires
role
them to
models.
go to follow role models.
How
It's a
great
simple,
is that?
it's a simple model, but it works.
So talk about your virtual program then. How are you going to recognize these 41 Eagles?
Well, what's going on is that we've reached out to all 41 Eagles, and what we've done is collected information from them regarding things such as what their future careers are, what their plans are, hopes and dreams.
And how old is the age range-ish, roughly?
Typically
6,
anywhere
17?
from 16 to 18.
Okay.
18 is the high end to get
so
your
this
your
kind
Eagle,
of
so.
pre-college or maybe just about starting college.
And the majority of them, because of the time frame, a lot of them have now moved on. So
Right,
they're at
right.
that college age.
Right.
But not all.
So we've collected this information from them. We've also collected photos of their projects. We've gotten project write-ups. And so what we're doing is highlighting each scout. We have a picture of him usually, a lot of times they're in their uniform. And we have just outline of this is what his hopes and dreams are, this is what his project was, photos, what he did, who he did the project for, and gives them an opportunity to receive some recognition that we wouldn't have been able to do any other way. COVID has changed a lot of things, including how meetings are done. As you guys know, we do a lot of Zoom meetings. Scouts are meeting by Zoom now. I have troop meetings that are being done by Zoom. And that was within weeks of being told to hunker down.
Change how you do business.
As soon as that happened, we had troops that were out there that started, and it was great because a lot of the scoutmasters are sitting back doing the what's Zoom and what is this stuff, and the kids are going, oh, we can do this by doing this, this, and this. And so when the leaders got out of the way of the kids at times,
kids took over.
Kids took over and ran the program.
Great. That's great, though. And that's the innovation that we were talking about early on, the ingenuity.
Yeah. And that is the scouting program. Scouting is supposed to be a youth-led program.
Yes.
The leaders are really there just for guidance, there to make sure that there's safety and everything else. But it's a youth. That's why there's those different ranks. It's
So
a youth
Dana,
program.
what's your overarching responsibility?
So my title is Scout Executive. I'm actually the CEO of the corporation for the local council. The local council covers all of Greene and Ulster counties. We're a small council. We finished last year with just over 1,000 kids. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 700 kids right now going into the fall.
Is that typical?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fall recruitment.
Yeah, okay.
Fall recruitment, and we're anticipating picking up kids here in the fall. We do have some challenges, obviously, with COVID. Schools, more restrictive about getting access to them. We've had challenges in the past locally about how do we get flyers into schools. Some schools are receptive to it. Today's world, it's going to be even more difficult because now all of a sudden you're trying to invite outside groups to come in. And there's some resistance to that. So we're trying to figure out the plan to address it. And unfortunately, every school's different. They all have different rules. They all have different standards of how we need to meet their conditions. So we're in the process right now trying to make sure that we can work with our leaders to start recruiting for the fall and get new kids into the program because, as we've said, we just had 41 Eagles for 2019. So we know effectively most of those kids have now aged out of the program. So I need to be having new kids come in on the low end of it so that as we have kids who come out of the age out of the program, we have new kids coming in.
I mean, has the COVID obviously affected the new Eagles trying to get, so how do you do a project during COVID, or what do you do? That's a challenge, right?
It's definitely more challenging, but they're finding the way to do it.
They are.
So again, with social distancing, with masks, many of the projects are outdoor activities, so it's not confined into a group.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe populations that are in need
6 feet away. They do different
because of
pieces.
the pandemic.
So they're still able to put them together, but just like everything else that we were talking about, and I heard you earlier, it's simply more challenging than it's been, but they're still completing them.
They're still at it.
We've had some that, due to COVID, we've also had some folks that we've had to take into consideration that there was a time period when everybody was on lockdown. And all Eagle projects have to be done by their 18th birthday.
Yeah. So what happens there? Did they give you dispensation at Boy Scout Central?
Yes.
Yes.
They did.
Scout, not Boy Scout, but Scout Central.
And they used a common sense
mothership.
approach, which was it's going to be addressed on the local level. And that every 18-year-old has a 3-month extension beyond his 18th birthday. You've got 3 more months beyond your 18th birthday.
That's great. That's wonderful.
It's just taking common sense.
Yeah.
How are you finding the volunteer side of the equation when it comes to adults? In other words, bringing adults into the into the equation and getting them active and involved in scouting.
Most adults come from parents. And that's our biggest challenge right now. If we can get the kids into the program, they drag their parents with them.
A lot of competing interests out there. That's why I'm saying.
It is. It is.
But is there now, is a competing interest Netflix and Hulu and, and their personal device? I mean, get them away from all these electronics and I mean, you got to incorporate it somehow, because if you are doing Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever, Meetup, you got to use these things, but get them away from that stuff and get them into some hands-on activities and get dirty activities,
And they're still getting out there and doing it. We have one troop we're talking to, they went out and they purchased individual tents for every scout, right?
Great.
So that they can do a camp out, right?
Yeah.
And each scout has their own tent.
You can do it.
Hang them out and, they put in their masks, and just like sitting in an outdoor restaurant when you're eating, they're spaced out and they can they can cook and eat and, and do a lot of the activities that you would normally consider.
Yeah.
And again, spacing out.
Right.
When you're outdoors, getting 6 feet apart is not that difficult. So if you're going to go on a hike or something and spreading out 6 feet is not
One thing your scouts will be learning is adaptation, how to bob and weave in today's world. Really, no, I mean, it's that itself is a
Dana, give some contact information if anyone listening to the show maybe have a relative or know someone that might be interested in the scouting program. So give some contact info, please.
Sure. We are the Rip Van Winkle Council. We're located here in Kingston at the Hudson Valley Mall. The office is open from 10 to 6, Monday through Friday. Traditionally, we've been open on Saturdays, but due to lack of
activity,
we haven't had a lot of business in the mall, so it's not worthwhile to have the.
But you're easy to find because you're probably one of the few stores open.
We're in the mall. We are open.
Right.
If you want to give us a call, and we're also online.
Okay.
I'm new enough that I still don't remember the phone number, but it's 845-339. Let me get to my card here just to be sure.
You don't call yourself off.
I don't call myself. 0846 845-339-0846. And give us a call at the office. We're happy to answer questions.
Dana, you're new to this, so where did you come from before this?
I have a long and varied career working for the Boy Scouts. I've actually been working for the Boy Scouts for 34 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
My 7th Boy Scout Council.
Cool. Okay.
Most of them have been in Pennsylvania.
What part of Pennsylvania?
All
over.
All over.
I have a good friend in King of Prussia and Media.
Okay, I was in Doylestown.
Okay,
which is,
hop, skip, jump.
Yes. That was where I was prior to coming here, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and I was the field director, and what that is I was responsible for the field staff. The field staff are all the guys who work out in the field working directly with contact with the volunteers on the unit level. And so I had 5 districts there, and I had 5 guys underneath me that I was managing to try and make them successful.
Mm-hmm.
Then December, I was given the opportunity to come up here and interview with Bill.
And then you brought the pandemic with you. Thank you.
I brought the pandemic.
No.
I got big shoulders.
Yeah, I see that. You're residing in the local community somewhere?
I am. I'm just across the river over in Statsburg.
Okay, yeah.
Found a house.
Yes.
Very nice area.
Yep. So I do the commute in every day. It's not a long commute. Actually, it's probably one of the shortest ones I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because it's only about 14 miles from my house to my office, and but we get in. But prior to this was Doylestown, and my experience has been that I was in DuBois, Pennsylvania, which is north central. From DuBois, I went to Portland, Maine to Harrisburg, PA, Harrisburg to Warren, PA, which is northwest corner. Then to Moosic, PA, which is northeast corner. And then
you should write a book about introducing yourself to new communities. What is that thing called? Welcome wagon, or the new
But he's jumped in full.
Well, that's great.
Full guy, which is great.
Yeah, great.
And even before, that was one of the things that attracted Dan before we even hired him. He had been up and he had met with many of our local officials and community leaders and other nonprofits and try to get a sense for the community. And so it's in working together.
Had a very strong place in Ulster County.
Either bring that to you or...
Sorry, Scouting has had I was getting relaxed here. Scouting has had a very...
Get your beer. I mean... A little early for a beer, but...
Well, IPA, please.
IPA.
Scouting has had a strong place in Ulster County, and I could talk to that from my experience of growing up here, and it was a very integral part of every community in Ulster County, and it's really a value that I think we see, and you have expressed. It is a life skills opportunity for kids. It's a socialization opportunity for kids. It's seeing the world a little differently through another set of lenses for kids. I mean, it's all of those things. So it's wonderful that you're here, and I'm sure that you're appreciating not only the splendor of where you're at, but the people here too.
Our county executive is a prominent Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will just say this to you as an aside. I hire a lot of people and work with a lot of people, and one of the key things that I look for is that if the individual is an Eagle Scout, I know the caliber and quality of person that I'm sitting across from right away. So I really,
that's
and I say it not because you're sitting here. And it's true.
It's good.
We're getting the finger. We're getting two fingers from Lawrence here. It's either that or the Richard Nixon peace sign.
Bill, Ulster Savings Bank doing pretty good?
We are. No, everything's going very, very well.
Good.
It's said amazing staff, amazing group. They've been out there constantly for our customers in the community and continue to do that. We're getting accolades from a lot of different customers and different pieces about the service they've received during this and the protection. The thank yous. We're taking every precaution. I've said knock wood. We've had very limited. We've had one employee affected in the entire piece, and it recovered almost instantaneously.
Right.
So
you're still doing drive-by closings or drive.
We still have our drive-in closing tent in the back. Talk about an innovation that's a low-tech innovation, but the customers love it. They absolutely love it.
The problem is it's in the middle of January. It might be a little nippy out there unless you surround it with some sides.
We installed fans for the summer. We may put heaters in for
oh man.
And remember, the customer gets to stay in their car.
Yeah,
so,
right.
They don't even have to get out of the car if they don't want to. We're going to order some nice down jackets.
Some ski gear.
We know at some point, we'll take that. We'll take it down for the winter pieces. But at least, for now, it's been a.
But that's I look at Bill and I think of the ingenuity and innovation that this crisis has put us all facing. So it's wonderful.
Good. Dana Kuhn, new Scout Executive, Ulster County. We're not going to see that too much longer because you've been around now for 6 months? Just since December.
January.
Oh, January. Okay, so you're getting there 9 months. It's good. And thank you for everything you're doing. Bill Calderara, thank you for everything you do. He's like the Uber volunteer. That's not like driving the car. It's just an Uber guy. Yeah.
I got you. Flash, boom, zoom, crash.
It was a crash. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Lawrence, come back to us, folks. Lisa Berger, our Economic Development Director of Ulster County, will be with us next half hour.
Listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
On top of first-class care, you will never receive a bill. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
A message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare.
There's pain that does not stop.
I feel trapped by migraine.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
I feel like I'm dying. You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do.
It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Central Hudson reminds you that summer thunderstorms can strike with strong, gusty winds, knocking down trees and power lines. If you see a downed power line, call 911 immediately to report it. Power lines can carry an electric current strong enough to cause injury or death. Stay at least 30 feet away from a fallen line. Don't try to move it or anything that has come in contact with it. And never drive over a power line. Remember, your safety matters.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
You the other day.
All right, we're back, folks. This is Thunder Thursday. It's so great in here. I can't believe it. And this is, I don't know, MASH, Splash, Zoom.
I can't think of anything. I'm going with Bloom. I'm sticking with Bloom.
Bloom.
Bloom where you're planted. It's Elliott.
Splash and Bloom.
It's Elliott Auerbach from the booming metropolis of Ellenville, New York.
Yes, the Blue Devils. The whole
Blue Devil. You got it. You got it.
Blue Devils. I forgot about that.
Not bad. And this is Tony Marmo. Let's see. Where am I? Well, now we live in I was a John Jay Patriot a long time ago in a land far, far away.
Okay.
I grew up in Fishkill. And then Highland Husky.
You got to be, I think of you as a Highland Husky.
I know. But, my roots are from, the great, where we kill fish.
We kill fish.
And let's not forget the New Paltz Huguenots.
Right. Let's not forget the Huguenots. Lisa Berger, our guest for this half hour, the Director of Economic Development and Growth in Ulster County.
Hallelujah, praise the Lord. I mean, I no matter where I go in Ulster County, the name Lisa Berger rolls off the lips of every. No, Lisa, right. I will say this to you, having been around the block a few times, you are doing a remarkable job. And you have done what needs to be done. In other words, delivering that high-touch, high-tech ability for businesses who really want to either expand in Ulster County or relocate to Ulster County. Everywhere I go, that's what I hear. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that, Elliott. It's almost been a year. Wow. September 16th, I think, is the day that I started in this position. And, it has been such a whirlwind. But to your point, what an honor over the year to meet so many wonderful local business people and people who are committed to this community, people who are doing really interesting, unique things right now in a pandemic. I heard you this morning talking about our farms, and I'm so happy because you saw that we're going to actually have Halloween this year.
Yes.
They're allowing us to have haunted attractions.
You have your mask, so what the heck? Right. I mean, it's not like you're not going to wear a mask.
Although, do you guys remember one Halloween we had the blizzard and they had to cancel Halloween one Halloween?
Maybe,
I do, because I think I was going to a football game after that. I do remember that.
Disappointment.
Yeah. Did they cancel the football game?
No, they did not. I got up early, and it was, and there was all this snow on the ground. We were going to a Giants game.
Oh, nice.
And there was
in
October.
How great though, I look at our farmers and you mentioned them and the ingenuity. I think about the Kelders and the schoolmakers from Saunderskill and how they've taken their farms and they've monetized them and made them, welcoming to the public and it's I look at it and I say that's America.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ingenuity of America.
It really is. Saunderskill, seeing a need to put food, packaged food that they've done themselves.
Yeah,
that's all local and fresh. You could pop in there, get the best salad, get a great sandwich, just grab it right out.
Grab and go.
Others have their bouncy.
Right. That's an entire experience.
Yeah. So again, we look at business, we look at agriculture, we look at everything that's happening right now is happening for a reason. I got to believe that. I'm and
you're one of those guys.
I am one of those guys. and the glass is always half filled. Where I come from. I've been accused of being a rose-colored optimist for years.
Thank God.
But I'm just seeing it, and one of the excitements. And Lisa, I think that you were involved in it. Was the confluence of the farms, and the hospital, and the school.
That's a great partnership in Ellenville that they just announced with Ellenville Hospital.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Kelly, the guy who was going to fail 12 or 15 years ago. I told him that 15 years ago.
Continues to amaze, continues to come up with new ideas.
Amazing,
So what's this program now? I missed it. I'm sorry.
It's a program through the school for local fresh food. So that it was done in conjunction with Jen Metzger, the hospital.
Oh, great. And what's then the hospital piece of it? Because they have like meatloaf or something.
Because they actually
had meatloaf and Jello.
Well, they've gotten funding for the rural health.
Network.
And they also, and they've gotten some grant money to improve health outcomes.
Okay.
Specifically where it relates to obesity.
Oh, interesting.
Heart
That
disease.
makes a whole lot of sense.
And believe it or not, their research has shown that there's actually issues with that with young children in that area. And so this was a really unique way of thinking about
getting a health component in there along with
the school.
With the school.
Which is what everybody's always wanted.
It's community partnership.
Yeah, everybody wants
it.
Everybody wants it. And there's some real robust, innovative way of doing things going on right now in Ellenville. Before we signed on, I said to Elliott that I've said this for a long time, but I firmly believe it. It's Ellenville's moment. It really is. They're having a moment. They're perfectly situated.
I bleed Ellenville blood, so I will say that it puts a smile on my face. But I'm seeing this whole 209 corridor starting to really, I mean the goat farm, the goat yoga is coming to 209, the Starlight Motel, and right. So I mean, I'm starting to see things as I travel, and the one thing that I do miss, and I actually had to stop this morning, pull my car over the side of the road, and take a picture of the sunrise. I do miss that travel down 209 and watching what's happening there.
Yeah.
It is so exciting. Yeah. So it's Kerhonkson, it's Accord, it's Stone Ridge, it's right through into Kingston. It's wonderful to see, and of course, what we're doing right now is we're sharing our area with folks who are all of a sudden discovering Ulster County. Realizing that it is a great place to ride out the pandemic and be here.
City
and
folks,
hopefully stay.
Or metropolitan New York folks,
I think
some others?
Folks who have had feet in two places, in the city and here, who now have realized that this is they can again go back to technology. Cousin Brucey, my buddy Cousin Brucey in Stone Ridge.
Leave his house.
He's got a studio in Stone Ridge that he was doing his Sirius radio, from
for years.
So those kind of things. So people are realizing what a wonderful, splendid place we do live in, and how easy and simple it is, and quite honestly, how for comparing it to other places, how relatively inexpensive it is to live here.
For all those reasons, we're so optimistic about a time when other people and when everybody's a little bit worried, right, about what's going to happen. But you've said that well right now, Elliott, right? There's an opportunity in here. There's a silver lining somewhere. And that is it. There are interesting people, new people, different people coming up. They've been here a long time. I agree with you. They've maybe had a weekend house. Now they're here full time. And what they keep saying is, wow, I can do the work I need to do and jump on my bike and take a 2-hour bike ride. And on roads that nobody's really on. Yay!
I was saying earlier that we're seeing at Norman Staffing an uptick in filling jobs and job demand. And that's, maybe I'll say a leading indicator that, businesses are starting to come back a little bit. So, and this is a mix of manufacturing, some, regular administrative, clerical support staff that people need to keep their businesses going. But it's significant. Construction, home construction, renovation, we're seeing that. So I don't know if you're seeing that. We're seeing it at the,
I think that is such important information for me to have, because the Department of Labor statistics are always a look back, Tony. They're not a look forward. You actually are a look forward.
Yeah.
And so that makes me feel really good.
Well, it's a look present, because we've probably filled in the last couple of weeks probably 10 or 15 jobs, I'd say.
Fantastic.
So I'll let you know if you want to. We'll talk later. Tell you, what some of the areas are.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that the manufacturing sector has picked up.
Yeah.
The construction sector, we don't see that downturning even after
Right.
it gets cold, which we had been a little worried
Yeah.
about. Like we thought, oh gosh, once the cold weather gets here, these guys are all and they're all out of the work that they've already booked.
Right.
They're not gonna. That's not true. They're actually they can't get to the work that needs to be booked right now.
They're booking in advance, 6 months to a year in advance. Some of these guys.
They are, and that actually makes us feel really good because we were a little bit worried that they were just going to finish up their work, and that would be that.
Yeah.
And then the demand has been ever present in healthcare.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
The supply, however, hasn't, because
really
folks
true.
have been concerned about the pandemic, and that's the workers,
Right.
the certified nursing assistants, the licensed practical nurses. Some of them have sat on the sidelines, they either have young kids at home or aging parents at home, and they did not want to expose themselves in the nursing home. So nursing homes have been really struggling in terms of getting people to take care of other people.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, and that is actually one of the reasons that I think unemployment remains persistently high for a long time, right? It's fear factor, and also as we go into this school year, let's face it, the public schools are a no-cost form of childcare, so that people can afford to. And two parents need to work.
Yeah.
And right now, we have families making really terrible decisions. They want to go back to work.
Yeah.
They need to go back to work.
Can't.
And they can't because of this situation and because there's not enough available childcare, mostly for that middle school age, believe it or not.
Right. Yeah.
We have childcare at the lower level.
Right.
It's that middle school age.
And the upper level,
10,
they can
12.
take care of themselves, basically. And I have to say that it's created anxiety, too.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that we're not seeing,
Mental health.
I have 300 immediate folks that work for me, and probably at least 2/3 of them have school-age children. And so I know what they're facing here. It is that tough decision.
Yeah.
We're encouraging employers, if they can, to be flexible, be understanding of what your folks are facing as they work, and meet them where they're at, so to speak, to see. But here's an interesting thing, and I'm seeing a new industry pop up, a cottage industry where families are different families are coming together,
I love it.
hiring tutors.
Oh, no kidding.
Really?
Yeah,
And
it's
so they do it at somebody's house in the morning.
Retired teacher or guidance counselor.
Yes, exactly.
Right, three or four kids in a pod, they call it, and so this again through this innovation,
Right, and actually a really unique one popped up. It's an outdoor education one right on that 209 corridor. It just came into my email last week, and they have this like little outdoor lean-to, and everybody's going to learn at that area, like around this concept of the earth and the environment.
That's not David Bronstein. That's not Wild Earth, is it?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
It's Andrew Faust.
Okay.
I can send you it. It's super interesting.
Smart. See, again.
And it's just so It's so innovative. And the other thing that they're doing is they're bringing in like local experts too, like who have music expertise, art expertise, and supplementing. I mean, people are doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
But, and it's true. This is a cottage industry, and let's see what happens.
Yeah,
from here.
no,
It may
again.
be interesting.
So quick commercial break. You're listening to KCR on 92.5 FM or 920 AM. Lisa Berger is our guest, the Director of Ulster County's Economic Development. You're listening to Elliott Auerbach, who is the Deputy Comptroller for New York State and filling in for Scott, hair on your back, Harrington.
Not hair on your
Kidding.
head.
I'm kidding on that. I'm only kidding. He's and please support KCR. We're in our fund drive still, and we need your support. If you haven't given, please consider giving $20, $50, $100, $10.
Online, you could donate online, which I'm
Go to
very impressed with,
MyKCR,
Lawrence.
mykcr.org. Hit the donate button, or you could send it into P.O. Box 4364. 12402. So we need your support to keep our not-for-profit radio station on the air, and so you can listen to great people like Lisa Berger.
Right, and kudos to your county executive, Lisa Berger, because I think he's committed, just as you are, to seeing growth and innovation all throughout the county. So I deal with a lot of county execs, and a lot of Pat is outstanding and doing a wonderful job. So kudos to him.
He really is.
Right, he's active. He's not a wallflower.
Right, he's out there.
No, and his skill at anticipation, I've said this in this show before, is just remarkable and amazing. And it's not just where it comes to the healthcare issue related by COVID. He is able to see down the line and be able to see where those opportunities and spots might
Eagle
be.
Scout, West Point, 2 checks.
Kingston High School.
Go Tigers.
So let's talk.
2 great parents, by the way.
Let's talk about what's making your phone ring right now.
Yeah.
So tell us, what some of the things are that are happening right in front of you.
What's happening right in front of us is interest, believe it or not, from manufacturers.
Ooh,
niche manufacturers in particular.
Great.
And people who've decided, who may have been doing their base of operations in Brooklyn, Queens, in that area, and they don't need the proximity to that market anymore. Right. They've figured out different ways of reaching their market and distributing their
online
goods.
sales mostly.
Yeah, and distributing their goods. Or they've come up with new distribution ways.
Yeah.
When there was a problem with everybody getting supplies into stores and stuff like that, that impacted manufacturers as well. They had to figure out different ways to move their goods.
Now you can take a bath in hand sanitizer. I mean, there's so much hand sanitizer around. I mean, it's
But we're seeing that. So I'm going to say that these are companies minimally with 20 people up to about 75 people and moving entire base of operations.
Because it's probably less expensive to do business here.
So much less expensive to do business
and
here.
And like you said, you could ride your bike and
And it's a quality of life, and even these places workforce are saying, get me out. Right. I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, could you imagine being in a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere in the metropolitan area? We can walk out of our houses on our and breathe, and inhale. Right. So I could imagine that. I see the truss manufacturer down by me who's busy. Here's 2 young guys. The housing industry has put such
truss
manufacturing roof truss that employing probably 20 or 25 people. Yep. The window manufacturer, Optimum Window.
They're not having any problems getting labor, you're thinking?
There are issues. We've had issues with labor.
People.
I mean, there has been issues with labor. And that's we touched on it a little bit before. Safety's one issue.
Right.
The child care issue is another issue.
Federal unemployment was an issue.
But that's gone. But that's gone.
Right, it's gone.
So
it's time to go back to work.
It's time to go back to work.
Right.
And really, what we kind of we may need to reskill a whole lot of people out of service jobs, and into other things.
Absolutely.
And one of the really interesting facts about Ulster County is right now our mix is 90% of our businesses are micro businesses. They employ between 1 and 10 people.
Oh, wow.
And so that's mostly in the service providing area, right? These might be yoga studios, people doing facials, people supporting the film industry. And so they're still having somewhat of a hard time if that's what you're doing. But what we are seeing, and I think this is to Elliott's point, like what's ringing our phone, what's making it, what's keeping us busy right now are different kinds of opportunities in sectors that we didn't really have before and that we didn't anticipate. And so that's really, really interesting. And we'll see what happens from here. And, honestly, we're always going to be a super attractive destination for people to come and have a weekend or a week or whatever. So we're never going to lose the tourism business that we have. I think that what we are seeing is a change in the makeup of the
and the tourism business is changing. I don't know if you, and I'm sure you've heard about it, Lisa. There's a school near me that's an off-roading school. So you can't, right?
Oh, no
love
kidding.
those guys.
I know.
I love those guys.
You go there and you learn how to drive off-road. I mean, how cool is that? And
they were on Good Morning America.
Yeah. Really? Oh, cool.
The relaunch of the Ford Bronco
Yes.
occurred there.
Yeah, in Ulster County.
In Ulster County on Good Morning America. And they are,
Wow.
so they teach people like how to drive those sport utility vehicles off-road.
Yeah.
And they also do a lot of work with veterans.
Yes.
They do work with veterans
Are they
who
veterans
have been
themselves? Are they vets?
disabled.
I don't know where that comes from.
I don't think so. I think he has a passion for it.
Okay.
And making sure that like activities and access is there for everybody, and in doing that, like he's really worked with them.
Cool. I mean, it's
yeah.
I mean, and now I'm seeing another cottage industry spring up of I'll call them trail guides of people who are taking groups of people out onto the trails and hiking and biking with them and wrapping it up with Airbnb. So you come up for the weekend and you have your own personal guide who provides you with the bikes. Who
See, that's great.
I know,
That's
really.
great.
Outdoor concierge.
Yes,
it's very. It even has a word.
Sounds a little foofy, but
It even
all right,
has a
we'll
word.
go for it.
No, let me tell you
great is
something.
that? Yeah, it's a
People
great
can't
idea.
get enough of it because
Yeah.
we grew up here, so we know to wander around in the woods until we
no
see
big
like
deal.
a blue, one of
Check
those
for
blue
ticks when you're
blazes
done.
or
Yeah, right.
red blazes, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I know where I am. But people not from here are like, what are those things on the tree? Like,
I went out for a hike with a group, and one of the guys was the choreographer, a Broadway choreographer. Because you start talking to people, where you come from and things like that. And I said, so what brought you up here? He says, I'm 90 minutes from Manhattan. I'm in the most beautiful place, to see it through somebody else's eyes, and then watching these industries. Micro weddings are going to be another big industry right now.
There's a whole change in that.
Small.
Yeah. By the way, 300 people at a wedding was way too many anyway.
Especially if you're the father, especially if you're the father of the bride.
You're Italian, Tony. That's all family.
Right. That's true. That's true, by the way. What about places like Mohonk or Rocking Horse Ranch? I mean, do you see them starting to come back a little bit, or are they folks?
So I think that, I've heard it from some of the people in that, industry. They've said it very well. What they've said is there are certain sectors of what we do that are going to recover faster than others. And we just need to accept that.
Right.
We need to recognize it and accept it. And I thought, wow, that is so smart.
Yeah.
So anybody who is really involved in the wedding industry, a shift to micro weddings is a big shift if you were used to doing 125 to 250, right? And you've got to change who you're marketing to. You have to change even your setup in your kitchen and all of that, right? But it's doable. And I think
so. Does vaccine maybe change some of that? Does as we unfold the next 3 to 6 months? And
I think people are a little skeptical right now. They want to see the. I think we're still going to be living in this pandemic
mask
atmosphere for a while.
Mass gatherings, I can see, Giant Stadium not opening up, or Yankee Stadium, or Citi Field, but can we go from 50 to 100?
That's what the wedding industry wants, frankly. They've been, they are now coalescing together. And then the other industry who's really advocating right now is the performance industry locally.
Right. They're hurting.
Like any music venue.
Places like that.
UPAC, let's see, Bearsville Theater had a huge renovation and then can't use their space.
Yeah.
So they had to completely pivot. They're a restaurant now.
Yeah.
And doing outside food. So anybody like that, and I did talk to the Woodstock Playhouse, and they very much feel as though they're different than Broadway. They don't understand why they've been lumped in here, and they are saying we have a way of keeping people safe. It's so many things. It's kind of like with the gyms and the yoga studios. Yeah. So what the governor has said is, right, we need you to put in air filtration systems to keep people safe. We need you to talk about how you're going to clean, how you're going to keep people distant. And I think that to Elliott's point, I think that we're going to see that in certain business areas for a while until we get a vaccine that,
it's reliable and people feel good about.
Right, more than 50%, right?
Masks
effective.
are probably not going away for.
No, and it'll happen. It will happen. It's going to take time, but I think where Lisa's going, and I think she's hit the nail on the head, is that people are pivoting. And to their credit, they're pivoting for.
Well, you have to, or you're not going to survive.
Right.
I mean, you're going to.
But there are businesses, and I'm sure Lisa's seen this as well, that have closed their doors.
There are.
So,
And
that's the sad part.
And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's been, our restaurant industry
Years,
has
yeah.
really.
Taken it on the chin.
They have.
Yep.
And some people have been marvelously flexible and robust.
Yeah.
But the fact is that's a very, very difficult industry to begin with. Right. It's labor intensive.
Right.
You need a lot of people to keep it moving and to keep it running, and it's hard if you're at 50%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at Chef Rick Orlando now, who has gone to YouTube.
Is that right?
He's got a new spice, a new spice line.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but again, I look at Rick. He's pivoted, and he's Maria from Boydson's, who did the groceries.
Yes.
Down by me, Marcus Giuliano at Aroma
he's done
Time.
a great job.
So I mean,
moving.
again, I stand in awe of these folks who have really made lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah.
That's what they've done, the farm
Absolutely.
stands and things
Absolutely.
All right, we have about a minute or so. So Lisa Berger, thank you for coming on. You're a great guest. We so enjoy having you with us. Elliott.
It's the Mutual Admiration Society. That's what we're reading here.
It is.
We even love Lawrence, too. I mean, we'll throw him into the mix here.
Well,
thank you. Thank you,
Woodstock
Tony.
69 all over again.
Thank you, Lawrence. I will say
thank
that
you guys
there
for
is-
hosting today.
Lawrence, you have filled the need of, you've put the word community in community radio.
Well,
So
my
thank
mother's
you.
got a lot to do with that, too.
Well,
but
thank you. Thank your mom, too. And I often think of the successes of this station and what it's done for the area. So thank you.
Yeah, good.
It's a new era, We're
It is,
starting in a
man.
new place. And,
Yep.
Get my little Channel Master transistor radio. Stick it up to my ear.
Support KCR, folks.
Yes, please
Everyone
do.
be safe. Have a great weekend and do good and have fun out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for sharing the morning with us and participating in Kingston Community Radio, KCR, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, WG.